Alrighty, hi everyone. So today I'm just going to make a quick little video about some little tips and tricks on how to do our comp makeup, because obviously it's almost comp season and we need to make sure that we look fantastic and all the same on the comp floor. So I've already put on my foundation. Foundation is very simple. All you need to think about when you are going to buy your foundation is remembering that we are fake tanned on the comp floor, so you need to match your foundation to the color of your tan. So it can be a little bit tricky, but you just want to make sure that obviously your face is going to match your body. Another thing, just with comp makeup, you want it to be, look for something that's full coverage and that is quite matte. You don't want anything that's gonna slide around the face. I guess you want something with like a drier texture, because then it's not going to transfer onto our bases, flyers, or just make a mess basically. However you want to apply it is totally fine. I use a brush, something nice and dense that's going to blend it in really nicely. You can use a sponge. I know a lot of people prefer a sponge, but I just find brushes are easier to clean. So yeah, the next step I'm gonna do, I always start with my foundation. You just blend it out, make sure it's nice and even, make sure you blend down the neck. Next, I'm gonna do a little bit of concealer. Your concealer can be a few shades lighter than, just 1 or 2 shades lighter than your foundation, just because it's gonna highlight the under eyes and just add a little bit of extra coverage. So I always do under the eyes and in the center of the face. So that's, on the tip of the nose, on the forehead, a little bit on the chin, and here. And then again, whatever you use, your sponge, your brush, whatever. I've just got like a little big fluffy eyeshadow. I guess it's more of like a dense brush. But I just want to blend that in and make sure that everywhere that's on is nice and blended. So if you're using a brush, or whenever you're using anything to blend any cream products, you want to make sure that you're pressing, because that helps build coverage. If you're swiping off the product, you're gonna lose a lot of coverage. So you're kind of just taking off all the product that you put on your face if you swipe with your product, with your blending, whatever tool that you like to use. I'm just going to take a little bit of this onto the eyelid. Just blending, making sure that that's nice and smooth. Alrighty, so next step after you do all of your cream products is you want to make sure that you set this really well with some powder. I usually just go in with like a loose translucent powder, and I make sure that I really press it under the eye here so we don't get any creasing. Powder is basically just going to make sure that when we're sweating and we're competing our routines, that our makeup isn't going to sweat off with us. So you're kind of just, setting down all that liquid product and making sure that it's going to last us. Make sure we're blending down the neck. Beautiful. Now, we have obviously just done our base now. We kind of look one color and like we're, don't really have much dimension to our face. So we're going to go in and contour our face a little bit. So you can use just like a bronzer for this one. Any bronzer that you have at home is totally fine. You can even use like a brown eyeshadow that's, you know, similar color to, you know, something like this. With our bronzer or, you know, our contour palette, whatever we've got, we are going to focus this on the hollows of the cheekbones here. So when we're trying to blend our contour, we want to make sure we're doing like sweeping motions so it really, really blends out on the skin. I use a nice big fluffy brush like this one. Another brush that a lot of people use is like a nice angled fluffy brush like this one here is also really popular. These are quite good for getting right in the hollows of the cheek, so something like that would probably be the best, but I'm just going to use this one. Now, because we are going to be on the comp floor, you do probably want to go a little bit darker than what you usually would, just because we're going to be really, really far away from the people watching us. And we don't want to look like a ghost with all of those lights on us. So you do really want to add quite a bit of color to the face. Just make sure you're focusing it right on like the perimeters of the face. So right here, like along the edges. If you don't really know where to put like your bronzer or your contour, just think of it like a 3. That's what everyone always says. So you want to go up on the forehead, down under the cheekbone, and under the jaw. So now we've got a little bit of color back in our face. I always like to add just a little bit of blush. Blush is just going to add a little bit of, you know, color back into the face so we don't look so just plain. You can totally skip this, but I always find that it just makes you look a little bit more alive. So this is what you can just use the same brush that you use for your contour or your bronzer, just like a nice angled one like this. Just press it on the cheekbones. Again, those swirly circular motions. Put a little bit on the nose if you like. I actually forgot to put a little bit of bronzer on there so our nose doesn't get lost. Alright, and the last step, which I know is a lot of people's favorite, is a highlight. So a highlight is basically just going to add a little bit of shimmer onto our cheekbones. If you want to make sure that it looks really, really nice and bright on the comp floor, you can spray your face with a little bit of setting spray first. And then with a really nice fluffy brush, again, kind of looks like a big eyeshadow brush, take your highlighter and really just focus it on the top of the cheekbones here. So you can see that just adds a little bit of a glow to the skin. Just because we've kept our comp makeup quite matte, just adding a little bit of shimmer kind of makes our face not look as dry. Don't go too crazy with this though, because when we do get sweaty, you're just gonna look really, really oily. Which is not fun, because we all sweat during our routines. Okie doke. Now, this is pretty much all of our base makeup. Now we're going to move on to our eyes, which is obviously the part that some people find the most tricky. You can literally use any, like most eyeshadow palettes will have all of the colors that you need to do this comp makeup eye. It is basically just like a very brown smoky eye. So you can, you know, it's in this one of these Morphe palettes here. Maybe not that one, if I can find it. So you can use something like this. I know there's like all these purples here. You can use, you're looking for like these brown shades here. So like every palette has like a brown. I am going to use Look, it's in this palette here, like just all these browns here. These work great. It's like, this is even a contour palette, this one here. So you can literally like, you could use this for your whole face. This is like your bronzer and your contour shades. You can use this on your eyes as well. Like, it's very, very simple. Made it very, very easy for you. I, however, am going to use this one. This is a Morphe 8L palette. These are very, very inexpensive, and like I said before, you can do all of your, you know, your bronzing and your contouring. Even there's highlighting shades in here. You can do your whole face with this pretty much. So, eyeshadow. I always like to put down a little bit of an eyeshadow base just so our eyeshadow is going to look a little bit more vibrant. It's going to last a lot longer. Again, we're going to be sweating and all that, so we want to make sure that we've got a little base for our eyeshadows to stick to. You can use just concealer for this step. This is a MAC paint pot in the shade Soft Ochre. This is just what I have at home. Like I said, concealer works just fine. Just making sure that's on there before we do our eyeshadow. Again, you want to make sure it's nice and blended. You can see that base just really gave me a nice smooth surface to work on. So I guess it covers all that, you know, darkness that we all get on the lid. And it is just going to make sure my shadows show up a lot nicer. All right, so, like I said before, you really just want to find a palette that has like a light brown, you know, a darker brown, and then like a really dark brown. Just so we can add lots of different layers of our smoky eye and make it look really, you know, how we want it to. So I always start my brown, like a brown smoky eye, with a really, really light brown, something like this one here. So this is going to be what's called our transition color. I'm just going to dip into this one here. On a nice big fluffy brush like this one, I'm literally just going to do like windshield wiper motions onto my eye. You want to focus this sort of like on the crease for our transition color. Just doing like windshield wiper motions, making sure it's really, really nice and blended. Dip back into that color if you need. Just like this. You want to sort of press it right where the crease of your eye is. So if you open your eye, there's like that fold there. You want to go a little bit above there and just make sure that it's really, really nice and blended. That's what this fluffy brush is for. Making sure that we really get a seamless blend. Obviously doing the same on the other eye. Okie doke. Now, you can use the same brush for this next step. You want to take a bit of a darker brown. I'm just going to go this one here. This you're going to put still in the crease, but just a little bit lower down. So I'm going to focus this like more on the lid. I'm just going to, again, do those windshield wiper motions. We're just going to sort of deepen up the crease a little bit. See how it just adds a little bit more dimension on the eye? All right. Cool. So this is pretty much where we're at. We've got this nice, really blended, smoky, just really soft brown kind of shade, like blend on our lids. The next step we're going to do is add a little bit of a shimmer on our lid. This is just going to open up our eyes a little bit and just make sure that a nice shimmer on the lid really opens up the eye and makes sure that our eyes look a lot bigger on the floor. For a shimmer, I like to use something just like a flat kind of brush like this one here. You want to make sure it's flat and dense. Something fluffy isn't really as good for shimmers. They just don't really pack on the color as well. So I've got a shimmery shade in this palette here. It's kind of like I guess a champagne-y kind of color. Just as long as it's a bit lighter. You want like either like a silver or a gold, something just nice and light like this. I'm just gonna pick it up. Again, if you want your shimmer, like our highlight, if you want your shimmers to show up a little bit nicer, you can wet them with a little bit of setting spray. And I'm just gonna press this onto the lid here. So you wanna pat it on, make sure that we're really getting that shimmer on there. Just on the mobile lid here. See how that lid highlight just kind of makes the eyes pop a little bit more? Now, our final step on the eye, you want to try and find a smaller, sort of more defined bullet brush like this one here. This is really perfect for adding some really good definition on the eye. You want to take like the darkest brown in your palette, so it's going to be like this one here. I'm going to take that really dark palette and you're just going to focus this on the outer third of the eye. So right here, you can pat it on there, blend it, really circular motions. I do this after my shimmer so I can blend the shimmer out so it doesn't look as harsh. Really just want to focus this on the outer third of the eye. This is just going to help, with that smoky eye effect. You can press on that where the line where the shimmer meets the outer third of the eye to blend that together. You just want to make sure you're blending all of your shadows together. It can be the hardest part, but you just take your time and it will blend out eventually. You can go back in with that fluffy brush if you're struggling to get those lines blended out. I'm gonna go in with my, my first transition color, this really light one here on that fluffy brush, kind of just blend out the edges. All right. Now again, like our contour, we are going to be on the comp floor. So we do want these, our eyes to stand out a little bit. So you want to be brave, go a little bit darker than you usually would. Where did my shimmery brush go? Go back in with that shimmer. But yeah, you can see I did that whole eye with just 3 brushes. You want a fluffy brush, a nice defining brush, and a flat packing brush. If you don't have a flat packing brush, you can use your fingers to put on your shimmer. Just, you know, press with your finger, that works great. But yeah, you don't need all the brushes in the world to be able to do this. Now, after you've done that, you just want to do a little bit of eyeliner so we can do our fake eyelashes. So if you've got a liquid liner or a pencil, it doesn't really matter. I've just got like a kind of like a gel pencil, this one. So I'm just going to focus that really close to the lash line. You don't have to worry about doing a winged liner or anything. You just want to really make sure that lash line is nice and dark, so that our fake eyelashes have something to blend into, because it can be hard to blend your fake eyelashes into your real eyelashes. You want to make sure that your liner goes right into the inner corner of the eye as well, just to really help that lash band. There we go. It doesn't have to be totally neat. You can see I just slap that on. Just make sure, like I said before, it's really just about making that lash line really, really nice and dark. Only the top lash line though. I wouldn't put too much darkness underneath the eye in that bottom waterline, because that's going to make our eyes look really, really small on the comp floor. I'll talk about the bottom lash line a bit later. Now, when you do your eyeliner as well, after you've done that, you want to just put on a little bit of mascara. Just make those lashes nice and black. There we go. Now, just while my mascara is drying, I'm just going to do a little bit of eyeshadow underneath. So take that really small bullet brush that we used before. Yeah, just a really nice small brush. Start off with that darkest color that you use and just really focus that underneath the eye. You don't want to go in with a brush that's too big here, because it's just gonna put eyeshadow all over your face. You really just want to focus it right on that bottom lash line. A little bit of darkness underneath the lash line, underneath here, helps open up the eye. You don't want to add any dark eyeliner in the bottom lash line. Just making sure that's really nice and blended. You can blend it into the top shadow here. Now, fake eyelashes. These can be a struggle for some people. Just give yourself plenty of time with your fake eyelashes and you will be able to get this on. Girls, if you want to get your mum to put your lashes on for you, it can be a little bit easier for someone else to do it rather than trying to do it on yourself. Sometimes your lashes will come with a lash glue. This is just one that's sold separately because my lashes don't come with lash glue. You can get this from Priceline. It's super, super cheap. This tube will last you for like ever. And it works really, really well. when you take them out of the packet, they're gonna be a little bit too long for your eye shape. So you wanna make sure that you measure the lash and make sure that it doesn't, you know, stab you in the eye in the inner corner or outer corner. You don't want it to be too long because then it's gonna like drag your eye down and look all droopy. So yeah, you just cut them with a little bit of, you know, with scissors. Always cut it from the longer side. So there'll be, you can see on these eyelashes that this side is longer than this side. Don't cut the short end, which goes on the inner corner. Always cut the longer end because it's just gonna make it look a little bit more natural on the eye. And if you look after your eyelashes and your eyelashes aren't, you know, too flimsy, you will be able to wear the same eyelashes for every competition of the year. Just make sure when you take them back off, put them back in the box and keep them in the, you know, keep them somewhere safe, because yeah, eyelashes are reusable. Just keep using that glue to pick off, you know, to glue them back on, and just make sure, yeah, you pick off any residual glue on the lash band there. But that's pretty much all the information you need about eyelashes. Comes in a little tube. You can squeeze out a little tiny bit onto the lash band. Sometimes with this squeezy tube, it can be a little bit hard. So what you can do is just squeeze a little bit on the back of your hand and then just dip the lashes into the lash glue. See, because I just made a mess. And you want to just make sure that you don't have too much glue on there. So you can wipe off all that excess. You want to focus most of the glue on the inner and outer corner. The inner and outer corner of the lash. And you just want to put the glue on there and then set it aside so it can dry a little bit. And I'm just going to do my other eyelash. Right. So I'd leave your lashes about 30 seconds to a minute. You'll actually see the lash glue start to get a little bit clearer when it starts to dry, and that's when you know it's getting nice and sticky. A nice tweezer like this is really, really handy. Otherwise, just a normal pair of tweezers is totally fine. Tweezers make putting on your lashes a lot easier. So, while I'm waiting for them to dry, I might just put on some eyebrows because we don't want to look like we've got no eyebrows on the floor. So you just want to pencil in your eyebrows. However you like to do your eyebrows is fine. Brow pencil, you can use a little bit of brown eyeshadow that matches your brow color. Just make sure that, you know, our brows look really nice and filled in. Checking on my lashes. I always do like a quick little step that I can do in a minute or two just while I'm waiting for my lashes to dry. Even if you want to go get a glass of water, I don't know, practice your routine, make sure you remember your dance, whatevs. Comb those through with a little spoolie just to make sure they're nice and blended and all those hairs are sitting where they need to. Beautiful. And now my lashes should be looking nice and dry by this point. So if they don't stick on straight away, take them back off, let them get a little bit tackier, and then that's fine. But I know sometimes you might have to take them off and try again. That's totally fine with eyelashes. So with your eyelashes, you want to make sure that your eyes are open, you're looking forward, or you can look down in a mirror as well. Makes it, you know, nice and easy. You want to be able to see that lash line. So I'm looking down at a mirror and I'm putting down my eyelashes. So you want to make sure that you put it right on top of your lashes. You're not gluing it to the eyelashes, you're gluing it to the skin just above your eyelashes. I'm going to take my tweezers and just squeeze my natural eyelashes to the fake eyelashes. My glue is still not as dry as it should be. So you can see that you really do have to let that dry. On the outer corner, you can have this lift up a little bit above the natural lash line so it doesn't make the eye look all droopy. You can lift up that outer edge there so it kind of lifts up the eye. You can kind of tell, like, this eye compared to this eye, it looks really nice and lifted. That's because I've just popped a little bit higher than that one there. So as long as you've got like that really dark liner, people won't see that that lash is not completely on the lash line there. And that's one eyelash done. Let me just pop the other one on really, really quickly. Beautiful. That's my eyelashes done. Just make sure you don't mess around with them too much until the glue is completely dry. You can see they do look a little white, but that's just the glue that hasn't dried yet. When it dries down, it goes completely clear. If you are really struggling, just take it off and start again. It's totally fine. Now, that is pretty much our face and our eyes done. All we need to do is our lipstick. So for our comp makeup, we use just like a nice nude lip. I would probably recommend a liquid just because they're a little bit more matte and they don't transfer. Always want to make sure, just because we do use matte lipstick, that you wear a little bit of a lip balm while you're doing your makeup. Just take the excess lip balm off before you actually do your lipstick, because the lip balm will sort of melt your lipstick off and it'll run everywhere and make a mess. So all you're going to do with your lipstick is follow your lip line, obviously. So that's a nice lip color. This step is optional, but you can do a little bit of lip liner around the edges just to make your lips look a little bit more full. Rub them together, and that is pretty much it. That is done. You can obviously bring your lipstick to do touch-ups, whatever. Make sure you can do a little bit of a setting spray here. Obviously, setting spray, I find, I don't know if it makes your makeup last longer. It's kind of one of those things, but it just is going to melt all that powder that we use onto the skin, like melt it in so it doesn't look as powdery and dry. And I mean, let's just pretend that it makes your makeup last longer, because that's what they say it does, right? Other than that, that's pretty much it. If, obviously, your hair's going to be up in a high ponytail, ignore my mop. But if there is any questions, please feel free to send a message to your coaches. Find me in the gym if you want. If your coaches don't know the answer, I'm sure they will send me a message and I can let them know as well. Comp makeup is nothing to be scared of. I know it's really just nice and fun. We just want to make sure that we all look the same as our teammates, and hopefully our competition goes well. So thanks, girls. That's it.